No, I'm gonna have them stand up, and I would like them to stand here in front of me. Okay. So then they're presenting the board, and then they'll see the.
Dr. Fitness on control. Yeah, we're streaming.
We're live. People can hear and see you. Going live. Okay, you're live on YouTube. You're ready on Facebook.
I'd like to call this meeting to order at 6:17 p.m. Please stand for the pledge of allegiance. I pledge allegiance
To the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Item 1. Oh, sorry, I forgot to take attendance. Roll call. Fabiano? Present. Brown?
Present.
Papua?
Present.
Gutierrez Flores?
Present.
And Rudolph, present. Now we can go to item 1. I need a motion and a second to approve the agenda.
Motion.
Second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Okay, item 2. Board reorganization, we need to select the following positions: president, vice president, clerk, board representative, and an alternate to the county committee on school district reorganization, and liaison to the daily city council. So, sure, I'll pass it on to Dr. Bittner.
Okay. So we're gonna start, we have two options. In the past, we have nominated a slate, a member may nominate for president, vice president, or we can do, nomination for each individual position. So it's up to you guys, but the floor is open for the five of you. The only person who cannot, be president is Ms. Brown, and that's because she's in her first year. And our bylaws say that the president cannot be in their first year, of their appointment or election, and cannot be president for more than 2 years in a row, and this was Mr. Rudolph's first, so everybody except for Ms. Brown is still open. Are there any nominations?
I like to nominate to still the president to still go for the second round as it is.
Is there a second for?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Do I have a nomination for vice president?
The same thing, vice president to go for that first.
So she is nominating,
Can we nominate to keep the same slate?
yes. Okay, so then, I have a nomination for the slate of, board member Rudolph for president, board member Gutierrez for vice president, and board member Aviana for clerk.
Yeah.
Is there a second?
Second. My first and second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, so then next is our selection of board representative as well as an alternate to the county committee. So one person who is going to be the representative, those meetings occur a minimum of once a year. They could be more depending upon if there are any areas within the county where people are asking for the lines to be drawn. This is an extremely important committee, especially for our district. If there is a chance that somebody wants to draw our lines. So is there any nominations for who wants to be for the first board representative?
We nominate her.
Okay. Is there a second? Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Next, we need an alternate on the off chance that the meeting is called and the board member Aviana is not available to be there. We cannot send somebody in his place unless the board has officially voted on a representative. So are there any nominations for the alternate?
And I'm.
All in favor?
Aye.
Okay, and then the final liaison is a representative to the Dayton City Council. This person can, the idea is to, if there's something that we want communicated to Dayton City Council, you would go and make a public comment. Otherwise, just either go in person if that's what you prefer. I'm not even quite sure if their meetings are in person yet. You can just watch them virtually. And then if there's any pressing things that we as a facial community need to be aware of at our next board meeting, we'll come and present back from Dayton City. Nominations for board.
I nominate Marion.
Second.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? So we have completed our, so nobody's seats are moving, everything is staying the same. So the next on the agenda is I need a motion to approve, a motion and a second to approve the schedule of the 2022 regular board meetings.
A motion to approve the 2022 board meetings.
A second. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed?
Thank you all. Okay, item 4, public comments.
There are no public comments this evening.
Item 5, consent items. Or is there any questions or comments for consent items?
No comment.
Then I need a motion to approve consent items.
Motion to approve the consent items.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
So for my presentation. So we're going to talk about 2 items tonight. One is the educator effectiveness block. One of the things you'll notice in my presentation tonight that are different from in the past is I am actually intentionally calling out when I do a presentation or when we are discussing something, what LCAP goal we are addressing or what board goal we are addressing. So the educator effectiveness block grant actually addresses 3 of our goals. Goal 1 is about school connectedness. Goal 2 is specifically around academics, closing the achievement gap or raising the achievement of all students. And then goal 3 is specifically around teachers. So the educator effectiveness block grant, we did a public hearing last month. So we now need to actually approve it. Again, it is monies that are meant to be used through June 30th of 2026. We have a total of $114,992. What we have allocated in our plan is to spend money on ELA coaching to support our teachers in the teaching of reading and improving reading scores for our students. Coaching of our teachers for accelerated learning, recognizing that as we are still coming out of the pandemic, that we need to accelerate the learning instead of remediating and going slower. We need to continue to do the current standards as well as fill the gaps, and that's what that does. We want to make sure that we support our anti-racist professional learning and coaching, both with our STAR team as well as the broader staff. We want to continue to coach to support inclusive practices and universal design learning, not just with our students who are in our SDC class, but any of our students who have an IEP that are mainstreamed into our classes. We want to make sure that our teachers and our students know what it means to be inclusive of their peers and all students. And how to redesign what the lesson looks like to support the extra needs that those individual students have. We want to provide coaching to support our English learners. And then we want to support a teacher team to design our ethnic studies curriculum, both at the middle school level, as well as supporting going all the way down through kindergarten. So this would provide them with a stipend and time for them to help us create what our ethnic studies coursework would look like. And again, this is a plan. A lot can change between now and June 30th of 2026. And so we can make adjustments at any time period. We also want to make sure that if you notice, all of these things that we're allocating money to are things that support the bigger LCAP goals. And that's why I said that it actually aligns with LCAP goal 1, 2, and 3. So this is not arbitrary money. It is not something that's just sitting on the side and we feel like, hey, let's go do this. It's something to support the work that we have said as a district that we want to strengthen and dive deeper into. So I need a motion and a second to approve the educator effectiveness.
Motion.
All in favor?
And then next is our reading goal, which is specifically goal LCAP goal number 3. And so the LCAP goal specifically states that by 2024, 75% of our students will be reading at grade level as measured by Contis and Pinnell, iReady, and the state test SBAC. That's 3 years out. And so we can't just set a goal and say, okay, we're going to get there in 3 years. We need to set a goal and figure out what we're going to do each year. So we are in year 1 of that LCAP goal. And so we have said in year 1, by the end of the year, we wanted to have 55% of our students. And we chose that number because we were up from 11% of our kids were exceeding the standard in reading and 45% were at or near the standard. So there was still some below. We gave, and then we didn't do any tests in 1920 because of the pandemic. And so there's a gap of a year where we aren't able. So we want to keep that in mind as we're looking at this gap. So in the spring of 2021, we did the iReady. 36% of our students were at or above on the iReady, and 35% were at or above on Baptist and Canal. So based on those 36 and 35% is where we came up with the 55%. In the fall, we gave the iReady and the FFP. And so at that point, 15% of our students were at or above grade level. Now remember, they're taking the test. So they just finished first grade and they're taking the test for second grade. In second grade. And so they're not going to be, it's normal for us to have below that number. 37% were 1 grade level below, according to the iReady, and 27% were at or above the grade level on the Baptist and the SBAC we aren't going to have until the spring. So these are the only 2 numbers that we can use. So now we're in winter. So in winter, 40% of our students are at or above grade level on Baptist and Canal. So we're headed in the right direction. We're less than half a year in, and we're already getting closer to that 55% mark that we want. We're assessing the iReady right now. Teachers have through Friday to give the iReady to the kids, but based on the numbers that I'm already seeing, the at and above is larger than it was before, and the 3 or more grade levels is less than it was before. So we're absolutely heading in the right direction. So I won't have those concrete numbers until January, and then I will show it to you via our data zone because I have a little. And then part of our LCAP is funding for our LOI teachers and pulling kids out who were 2 or more grade levels below. So starting in October, we were able to pull out 41 of our kids. Out of those 41 kids, 68% of them, 28, have already increased at least 1 level on the FFP. And some of those kids just started maybe a month ago. So the program is working. What we are doing is looking at those students who aren't growing, and we're figuring out a couple things and determining what that root cause is on why they aren't growing. Is it because of attendance if they're not there? Is it because they need something different? And if that's the case, then we need to reevaluate what that will do. But we've got some students that have gone up 4 levels since October. So there is a range. And so we're really excited. This is the first year that we're really doing this. We started to roll it out last year. But this is the first year where we're kind of all in. And so it's more data that we're collecting as we move forward. We also are going to do another analysis because as I previously said, one of our LOI instructors is also works for the Boys and Girls Club for the afternoon program. And so what we're going to do is we're going to see kids who are enrolled in the afternoon program, and we're going to have her work with them in LOI in Boys and Girls Club. So that'll open up more slots during the day. If we have students who haven't been able to get it. Are there any questions regarding this report?
I'm assuming this data will flow into.
Yes, some of it's already there, and I just pulled from there, and others it's not quite there yet. We're not quite there in terms of putting our FMP data in. Teachers are still putting it into a Google Doc, and I'm still working with Data Zone to get it to where it will be easy for them to actually enter it. So by the March assessment of FMP, our teachers will enter it in themselves, and then the data will enter it.
sorry, who's the Chuck's name?
The what?
The Chuck's name?
Oh, it's one of our staff members, Janelle.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah, so she does LLI during the day and she also works.
Do we know what the roadblock is for the students who are below grade level?
Do we know what the roadblock is? It's on a case-by-case basis. And so that's why we're trying different sources for this. Our teachers who are interventionists or retreat specialists, they use a program called Gillingham, which takes different ways to teach phonics. Part of it is that to get better at supporting our teachers in terms of how to teach phonics in kindergarten, first and second grade. And so we've talked about the way that I describe it is we have we're on a railroad track, and there's one railroad track that is to support the kids that are multiple grade levels below, and that's where the LLI comes in, that's where Gillingham comes in. And then the other railroad track is to do a better job of supporting our teachers and teaching reading in kindergarten, first and second grade, so we have less kids later on. And so if we continue down this, and we know that we still have more work to do in terms of supporting our teachers, which is why under the Educator Effectiveness Grant, we want to provide coaching for our teachers on teaching reading. We had a plan at the beginning of the year for a coach, and some things came up that I'm not going to be given in this discussion that slowed down that coaching experience. And so we had to pivot and figure out how to reach back out to get some other coaches, which we're on. We've reached out to somebody, and I'm hoping we're going to get yes.
How do we challenge our children that are on the top, and what do we do with the students that you still see them at that level on the below?
So
And how is it the same children from when we introduced this, and how do we trace that? Because if we introduce it to them in 2019, then we're at spring 2021, and it's the same children. And then if I see them again on fall 2021, I then need to do something.
Yeah. So what happened between 2019 and 2021 was the pandemic. We
Right.
sent our kids home, and so there was a lot of things that we couldn't do. And so there's a couple of things. So one is, your first question was about kids who are at or above grade level. So one of the strategies that we have specifically in our English classes and our K-5 classes is we expect our teachers to teach small group instruction. And what that does is it allows the teachers to group kids both heterogeneously and homogeneously. So for grouping them homogeneously, it's based on their levels. And so kids who are at or above, they're able to give a deeper lesson and provide opportunities for kids to be enriched and to go deeper into the standards, not to go to the next grade level, but to go deeper into the standards that they're learning for their grade level based on the fact that they're already there. Whereas I'm then doing a different small group with a student who might be struggling with, I'm going to use math as an example because I was a math teacher. If they're struggling with their multiplication tables, then I'm going to work with that small group on multiplication tables. I'll come next time with an example specifically.
But wouldn't we think that they should go the next level instead of having them sit there? Because to me, some children will get bored, and
So
then.
that's where enrichment comes. We do not promote or we don't want kids to skip grade levels. If there is an individual student who absolutely their mind works in that
Right.
way, I'm not going to hold them back. But our first goal is to make sure that kids are at grade level, and we can enrich their learning so that they aren't bored when they're in that individual class. That's the intent. Now, if they are constantly going deep, and then we do have a conversation, and we could have them, their enrichment could then go to the next grade level teacher during a certain time to deepen in that way.
But so far, we don't have that yet. I like
And
that.
that's actually one of the conversations that we're having. We just had a meeting with some staff this week about talking about what does it really mean to utilize standards-based grading, and that a 3 is a grade level, and if you're giving a 4, it should mean that you are that the student is performing above grade level. So again, in math, if I am getting a 4 and I'm in the 8th grade, I should be doing high school math. That doesn't mean that I just happen to be getting 100% on everything, or that I'm doing extra credits, or that I'm doing extra projects. It means not only am I doing that, you're also giving me work that has to do with 9th grade math, and I'm able to do really well on that. If that's the case, then I've earned a 4. But if I'm just continually doing 8th grade math, then I earn a 3. And so that's part of the conversation, both not only for our staff, but for our kids and for our parents, to recognize that standards-based grading is not the same as traditional grading of utilizing letter grades. And so we definitely want to know if a child is, if you're constantly at grade level, where can we enrich so you can get deeper? And if we need to go to the next level, then we can.
I have a question. How are we communicating with parents with regards to standards-based grading? Because there's a lot of parents that don't understand.
So quite honestly, we need to do a better job. And so we're having those conversations with staff, and what, our team has just met, we're gonna go and have conversations and poll our teachers on their use of standards-based grading. And then we're gonna talk about how are ways that we can communicate with families as well. Because in the past, we sent out a letter and we talked about what standards-based grading is. But that doesn't necessarily mean that everybody has a deep understanding of it. So we quite honestly need to do a better job, and that is on our list of things that we need to do better.
And I think that's in order for us to be in alignment with, education at school and education at home, we really need to work together and bridge that gap.
Right.
So then the expectation of parents are at the same level, and instead of not knowing what their child is
Right.
doing as far as their education.
Right. And the other piece of that, which we've talked about in the past, is we offer an opportunity for teachers to do training this year on grading with equity, and what that actually means in terms of when a student earns a grade that's standards based, it means it's based on the standard. It's not based on the fact that I was able to do homework, or that I brought in tissue boxes as extra credit, or that I came to the block party and helped set up, or that I came to Toastmasters. I think that those are opportunities for us to talk about being a citizen and supporting each other as a community. But that should not necessarily be tied to a letter grade or grade within the class unless it's tied to a specific skill. So yes, we need to do a better job of covering that.
I guess that can be one of our goals, or like one of our board goals.
Yeah. Something later on the agenda. Okay. I think it's trying to start with this. Actually, the study session on Saturday of just making sure that the LCAP goals and the board goals and administration goals are all in line.
I mean, all those wheels gotta go together.
Exactly. Just a quick question on the data side. So by 2024, so I'm assuming that the year portion of it is. Show us.
No.
I think I'm gonna be on.
With regards to our rating, how are we progressing as far as all the data that's being moved into our existing,
So into data zone.
right?
So iReady, they know that the iReady is in the data zone, so I can pull up data zone and show you that information. I'm not going to tonight because I'm still waiting for this administration, but in January, that's what I'm gonna show you. So the teachers are supposed to test through Friday, and then they're gonna pull the data on December 20th, so that it will then be in data zone. In terms of the FMP, that's still a work in progress on my end, on how I need to actually set up how the data is gonna be entered. We have been able to put our August, September data in. The teachers just put in their November data in Google, and so I'm going to transfer that over. And then when they give it again in March, they will be able to just enter it in, so it's not double.
Any other questions?
No, thank
regarding
you.
spatial services?
I did want to make a motion to possibly move up 8C, the youth participatory action research student presentation. Be mindful of the kids in case they have to do homework, eat dinner.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Also, that can be something that we need to consider from now on and moving forward, that every time we have staff and students, that we should be able to consider that in our,
We can rearrange.
we arrange that in the setting of the agenda. If we know ahead of time, if that's okay.
Thank you.
Okay, so we're gonna move. Is your team ready? We're ready, okay.
You guys actually set us up for a great segue because YPAR is connected to the LCAP goal to build school connectedness. So we're ready to rock and roll. Where do we stand?
Right over there.
You can stand right in front of me.
Camera's right there in that corner with Mr. Deere, so we can stay in that frame.
Oh, we have to stand in front. So stand on the left of me.
There you go.
All right. Yeah. I'm gonna show you.
And so I'm gonna introduce Ms. Santos, who is our 7th and 8th grade English language arts teacher. And Coach Kevin, who is our K-8 PE teacher. And the two of them jointly teach a middle school elective called YPAR. And they have brought two fantastic, wonderful 6th graders to represent that middle school elective. And so I'm not gonna describe what YPAR is. What I am gonna do is introduce Ms. Jayla Nelson. Please give the room a wave.
Hi,
And Mr. Julio Sanchez.
hi Julio.
And I'm gonna let you guys take it away. You give me the cue when you want me to change slides.
Yeah, next slide would be good. So for our YPAR group, our cohort, we have a handful of 6th graders, just one 7th grader, and then also some 8th graders. This is a 2-trimester elective, so students have to commit to 2 trimesters, not just one. But what was really nice was after our first trimester, students had the option to maybe try something new if they felt like it, but everyone stayed. And then we also added new folks to the group. So our YPAR group grew from the first to the second trimester. Slide, please. And so for our first trimester, our focus has been a lot on storytelling. Students have been given the opportunity to really speak on who they are and really create bonds with each other through that. In the first trimester, we also did community mapping. So we started off on Schwerin, and we walked all the way up to the new houses and took pictures and kind of just got to see what was in between here and Schwerin. And then we also took another walk all the way down Geneva, all the way to the Bay Club. And they actually let us in the Bay Club. So we got to take pictures inside Bay Club.
Wow.
And something that the students identified was a lot of garbage in the area. And so in the second trimester, we were able to, some of us were able to attend the community cleanup that PTO held, and students were able to identify how that community collaboration was really impactful due to what we were seeing through our community mapping.
And yeah, so we discussed after looking at their photo journals, what the kids saw in our community and also what they didn't see. So they identified that we're kind of in a food desert. They identified that there was a large amount of trash in certain areas of our nearby streets. They also saw, the notably expensive homes that are near our school and who can afford them and who can't. So next trimester 2, which is right now, speaking of community collaboration, so based on that community walk, what's that? No, you're fine. Based on that community walk, we did partner up with PTO, and we did a neighborhood cleanup. We had a really great show out of community members, students, staff, board members, alumni. So that was great. And then we will also be collaborating with our STAR team to discuss some of the research that the students have been gathering. So if you haven't noticed, YPAR stands for Youth Participatory Action Research. So our students identify issues within their community, whether it's the broader Bayshore community or here at school. And they come up with action plans to try to enact change, real tangible change for our students. So tomorrow they will be all presenting some data that they've gathered around bullying. And so I'm gonna pass it to Jayla, who's gonna talk a little bit about that.
So our topic was bullying. And then the issue was bullying is causing harm to members of our community. And then the purpose was to address bullying and prevent it.
And then Julio's gonna address our research question.
So this is our research question. How might bullying impact students from 5th through 8th grade?
And so far, the topic, issue, purpose, and research question is really grounding our research. And students have actually developed a survey that they gave to 1st through 8th graders that they designed, 5th through 8th graders, that they designed themselves, came up with the questions. And now we've been looking through the data and rehearsing. So we're gonna present the data tomorrow to our staff to kind of give them a perspective from our students on this issue.
And again, I just want to lift up that they designed the survey. They helped administer it. So they also gave like a pitch to their teachers about why this is important. They also did interviews. So they got to choose peers that they wanted to interview. So they've collected quantitative and qualitative data, and they're familiar with those terms. And so, yeah, we're really excited for having students that are present at our staff meeting tomorrow. And we're hoping to make some change. Is there anything you wanted to add before I just want to pass it back to them, Coach, and have them share what they've gotten out of YPAR so far.
I think that's it for me. Again, I'm just really proud of this group.
Yes.
If y'all have time to show up to our elective, I think it's a really good space to be in. Yeah, we welcome you to join us too if y'all ever want to come through to our YPAR classes.
What days and times is that?
Every day at the end of the day, last class of the day except Wednesday. So Monday, Tuesday, Thursday, and Friday.
Around 2 o'clock is when we start. So I want to pass the mic to Julio and Jayla. If you could just tell the room, what have you gotten out of YPAR so far? What do y'all think about it? Just go ahead and share your thoughts that you've already brought up in class.
Wait, our thoughts?
Yeah, like we've talked about, if you could describe YPAR, if you could describe our class as a feeling, what would it be? Or the things that you've gotten out of it so far.
Or what do you hope comes out of our research? Those questions.
So as you said, we gave out like the survey to 5th through 8th grade, and the feeling for YPAR is like peaceful, I think, because I would kind of say it's like a space where you can like share like what's going on in the school and outside, and that's all I got to say. I would say that it's a safe space because sometimes when we go in, we share stuff.
Yeah, thank you. So again, we started out with a much smaller group in the first trimester, and we're kind of spread at the work that these kids are doing, and they even recruited some of their friends, their classmates, and it's gotten bigger. So we're really excited to do this work and to have you all be involved and updated in the process. Questions for us or the students?
I just want to congratulate you guys for being bravely to be here and Right now, you should be eating dinner, playing some games, you
Doing
know.
homework.
Yeah, but you're here. So Julio, I remember you when you were in preschool. Oh my gosh, you were the shy one. To look at you. You have your first public speaking today. Awesome. So kudos to you guys. Thank you, staff, and to the parents. I'm not gonna promise, but I will make some time to pop in and visit.
Yeah, and can I understand, first, thank you guys for coming, and the only thing I would ask is, will you guys come back? Would you
When the
consider coming
research is
back and
done?
Giving us an update at
Right.
some point?
Yes.
That'd be awesome.
Wonderful. Well, thank you guys.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Mom and Dad and Jayla and Julio, you are on YouTube tonight, so if you go to our Bay Shore TV channel, you can go watch yourselves and see how the presentation was.
Okay.
Thank you,
But thank
Teresa.
you all very much.
Can the board take a picture with this group?
Absolutely,
Yeah.
we will
Yeah,
pause.
And
this is a historic event here.
You guys did great.
Yeah, you guys can stand right.
You're like, Dad, you can watch it on YouTube.
she's gonna present tomorrow too. Yeah. To a
You
larger.
can see representation of what.
Good.
1, 2.
Thank
Thank
you.
It would be nice to have this, but if everyone's comfortable.
Thank you, guys.
Thank you so much.
See you guys tomorrow.
Great job, Ms. Santos and Coach Kevin.
Good job, girl.
Encouraging our future researchers.
Yes.
Since we did item 8C, I was gonna suggest that we go back to pick up where we left off. If that's okay. Unless there are any objections.
Nope.
Okay, so then we'll go back and resume item 7.
So all of the items that I'm presenting tonight have to do with our LCAP Goal number. Absolutely. Which has to do maintenance of effort with our facilities, fiscal side, those types of things. And so we do a standing developer fees report every month. We receive $0 in developer fees for the month of November. Second is the annual developer fees report. Every December, we need to give a report of the developer fees that we collected from June of the previous year, July 1 of the previous year through June 30th of this year. So this is in relationship of July 1 of 2020 to June 30th of 2021. So the beginning balance in July of 1 of 2020 was $121,762.23. Over the course of the 2020-21 fiscal year, we collected an additional $155,189.87. We earned $1,303.13 in interest. We spent $4,729.95. So at the close of June 30th, 2020. We are closing out the fiscal year with $273,525. Now, obviously, this is through June. We've collected more between things. And then I'm actually going to talk about using that money to pay back our bank in the next 5 minutes.
And real quick, directly related to developer fees.
Yes.
First statement, so these are one-time fees,
Yes.
and as far as any of the major projects, do we have any remaining expected income that we know of?
Yes.
Or is it kind of plateau?
No, great question. So first of all, these are one-time fees when you get ready to build. So in an existing home, if you are adding on 500 or more square feet, you can collect developer fees. If you are adding on 499 feet, then we don't collect any money. And it is $4.09, I believe, right now. I will confirm in January, for residential, and it's 61 cents for commercial. We are going to be doing every 2 years, the state allocation board raises those prices. So when I first started, it was in the low $3, now it's $4.09. And so they are looking to raise them again in January of 2022. On the even year cycle, they raise them. And so then school districts are allowed to do a developer fee study, which we will do, so that we can increase our developer fees and charge the max, because you want to charge the max at any point in time. And so to your next question of outstanding, so there are 6 phases for the Midway Mid-Penn project. They have only paid us for the first phase. And so they don't pay us until they're ready to start to break down to actually start building the individual phase. So we still have several hundreds of thousands of dollars that are going to be coming from that. We received, we did a agreement to actually get more than the $4.09 with Point Martin. So we're hoping to receive those funds within the next 6 months. And those will be on top, will be more than the $4.09 because they want to give it to us in advance instead of waiting, which is a benefit for us.
Nice.
Any of the projects that are going to be coming up on the Cow Palace, we have not seen any of that money. And then obviously the Baylands, we haven't seen anything yet. Now, this may be part of the agreement with the Baylands that if they build the campus, then we don't get any developer fees, which is a good deal for a school district because I just said it's $4.09. Can you build me a home for $4.09 a square foot?
Not here.
So they're gonna build us a campus, we will take that in place of the $4.09, because the intent of developer fees is meant for you to use those funds to add space for the kids who are gonna be coming from those new developments. And $4.09 is not gonna do it, because that's not what it costs to actually build, especially in the development, but it doesn't even cost that to build. I don't know, so that's where we are.
Do we get anything from the project that was done here on Geneva?
Habitat?
Yes.
Yeah,
Yes, and so that was part of the money that we.
that was part of it.
Yeah, so even though they are affordable houses,
Right.
Mid-Penn, they still pay the same rate. They don't get a discount. They're still responsible for paying the same rate.
Wow, it sounded like we're doing somewhat
We're doing
okay.
better. Yes.
Then wait.
We're being fiscally frugal.
we are.
Really?
Which is why I'm
a
excited
grow-
about
it's a
what
growing
other things I'm gonna
community.
talk about.
So it's always good to then we look at that bucket right there and then we start planning what those funds are gonna start
Yes.
allocating with
Yes,
that based on our goals.
yes. So some of those funds, so that's what we're gonna talk about when I get to paying back the bank. Some of these funds are already gonna meet, and I'll talk about that in a second. So I need a motion and a second to accept this report.
And maybe then we finally, we can
All in
finally buy
The
that
corner.
little corner house right
What
there.
a great idea.
You know, we can,
Well, we got the commercial space on the corner here. too.
no, I want that corner
Well, I
right
know you
there.
want that.
Cause that will be
Look at
a
the map.
nice community
Let's table that for 5 minutes.
Right,
Table it for 5 minutes.
for,
It's coming, it's
for
coming.
a school clinic.
sorry.
You know.
Right, do I need to pick this up? All in favor?
I, sorry.
I think that was the loudest one I heard.
7C.
Right.
So next is our 21-22 first interim report. So the cycle is that we adopt a budget in June, prior to June 30th. And then we do our unaudited actuals. We do those in September. And then by December 15th, we do an interim report. So this is the major adjustments that occur from us adopting the budget in June. And actually looking at what has happened between then and now. And so major adjustments that have occurred. So under revenue, reshuffle of EPO funding between state and federal funds. We didn't get any additional funding. The state just said you have to allocate it this way. And so that's what that was. It's just moving from the general fund to a different place. It wasn't any additional funds. We did get additional $200,000 in new local grants, which include our COVID-19 grant, any state monies, our K-12 strong workforce, our MTSS school conditions and climate grant, and that money has already been allocated. And then I am so excited to share this piece of information. Our school meal program is currently generating enough revenue to cover all of the program costs.
Wonderful.
And it is so good. We've talked about this briefly. I am in conversations with the superintendent of Brisbane for us to expand our food program, which would expand our staffing to actually be able to feed them and provide their lunches for them next year. So
Next year?
Next year. So not this year. So
Oh,
we're still in conversation.
we're
We gotta
feeding
map it all out.
them.
We're gonna do some practice runs in the spring, see what it looks
Nice.
like, see about staffing, those types of things. But yeah, I'm
That's
pretty
really-
proud of us.
Great
So
job,
we're gonna
guys.
need a bigger kitchen.
We're not gonna.
No.
I really can't do it.
Time management.
Right.
We can add hours and we can streamline the process.
Wow.
Expenses, the first interim reflects a final 2% salary schedule increase because the budget didn't include that, as well as a 2% one-time off schedule payment. The good news about some of the expenses is that the 2021 unemployment insurance rate decreased from the proposed 1.23% down to 0.5, which is much more manageable. And then prior to the budget, we had not anticipated building a new trade structure, and I'll talk about that a little bit later, but that's also part of our expenses. For staffing, we've added 2.3 FTEs, which are full-time equivalents of additional special ed instructional assistants, and we hired a school nurse, so these are additional staffing numbers. Most of the classified staff had their FTE increased over the 2021 FTE levels due to us now coming back in person. And then we have the 2 new reading LLI teachers that were added to the budget for classified staff, and that's funded by our federal and state revenues. And then enrollment, this is really what is very serious for us as we go into the outgoing years, is that our enrollment decreased from 369 to 350, just from people moving out of the area after COVID. We are funded on ADA, which is average daily attendance. And the 22-23 enrollment estimate, we're using 355 because we need to be safe. We don't want to think we're going to get 30 additional kids. And then we're again conservatively projecting 355 in 23-24.
Do those children move out? Are they from our district?
Yeah,
Well, she was just wondering if it was from the district or inter-district transfer kids that are no longer
a
coming
lot
back.
of them were from our district.
Going to other districts?
Or
Moving
states.
out of the Bay Area,
Oh,
not us transferring. but
Transfer.
like actually getting up and
Okay.
moving, their families moved out of the Bay Area or out of the peninsula, I should say. Because most of our families, if they move from Daly City to Pacifica or Daly City to San Francisco, want to stay, and so they do an inter-district transfer to stay there.
Question, with the extension of the kitchen, are we allotting monies for additional tools and?
Yes.
Okay,
Yes,
equipment. Okay.
yeah, but that's not included in this.
Okay.
We haven't budgeted for that at all. That's us just in conversation.
Okay.
But when we think about that, yes. Brisbane would actually pay for it. So here is a comparison of the budget from when we adopted it in June to our first interim. So you're gonna see that for our total revenues, we had budgeted $5.6 million in June. But according to our first interim, we actually received 5.9 million. So that's great. But we're also expending that money. And so if you look at the expenses, in June, we said we were going to spend 5.4, but we actually spent 5.8. But what it means, we have still done a better job, and this is why we need to continue to do this and be fiscally responsible, is according to the budget, at the end of this year, we were gonna have an 11% reserve. And the gold standard is 17% and above. So we're not to the gold standard, but the minimum is 4%. And if you're a small school district like ours, 4% is nothing. I mean, one situation that could cost us could end up draining our reserve. So we definitely want to be well above 4%, but we're not quite to 17. But according to first interim, we actually are at 15.42. So that's great. So we're almost to the gold standard. And you know me, I like the best. And so we're headed in the right direction. And one of the reasons why this is really, really important is because if you look at the out years, so right now we're being funded on, we're being what's called held harmless. So the state has said that even though our enrollment in ADA has gone down this year, we're still being funded at 2 years ago because of COVID. They said, we understand what districts have gone through. We understand what families have gone through. We're going to hold you harmless, and you're not going to receive any less money than you did 2 years ago before all of this started. But what they haven't said is that ends this year. So the budget comes out in January.
That's the catch.
Right, the governor releases his proposed budget in January, then they negotiate from January to May, they do a May revise, and then they actually adopt in June. And so as of right now, the budgets for 22, 23, and 23, 24 are going to be funded on where we are today. So that's a considerable drop in funding that we would receive. And so we have to budget based on what we know. What we know is that's what it's going to end up being unless they make a change in January. And I'll talk in a minute about what those conversations are. So according to what we know now, what we thought we were going to get was 5.4 million. But in 2022, what we're really going to get is 5.2 million. So that's a $200,000 difference than what we had anticipated. And we thought we were going to get 5.5 million, and what we're really going to get is 5.3 million. So what that ends up doing to our reserve is us thinking that we were going to have an 11.52% reserve next year is really only going to be 11.15. That's still fine, right? That's still, we're okay with that. Is if we're keeping things as they are. But the third year out, 23, 24, we go from 11.35% to 5.44%. So at that point, we have to start making cuts. We have to be having conversations because that puts us at a little bit of a kind of, I'm a little concerned in terms of what our reserves are for us to be able to have a balanced budget. And what my hope though, is that we're gonna have conversations in January. So there's already conversations happening right now with the governor and with the legislators about doing one of two things. Making a shift from ADA funding, because we are funded on ADA. That means when the kids are in front of you, right? But we don't staff on ADA. We staff on our enrollment. I don't staff my third grade class based on 18 kids coming to school. I staff it based on 24 kids enrolled in our school. I don't get to say to the teacher, oh, you only had 18 kids today. I'm not going to pay you for a portion of them because you only served 18 kids. Because what the reality is it is harder to serve the kids that don't show up at school. You aren't working less for kids that don't show up for school. You're working twice as hard because you are trying to serve the kids in your class. And then you're trying to figure out why is the child not in school and how can I support them and or bring them back to school. So those conversations are happening with the legislators and the governor on, we need to make a shift from away from ADA funding to some sort of enrollment base. So that because that's how we staff based on who we think are going to be.
And increase that base.
And yes, so that's a different conversation. And then the second piece of that also is to have what I've heard proposed is kind of to do maybe a rolling 5-year average. So if you have one bad year, COVID hit us and we had a really bad year, it's not going to have a major change on you because we're going to do a 5-year average. If we do a 3-year average, 2 of the 3 years were in COVID. That's still going to hurt. So maybe do a 5-year average for the next, 3 years, and then we change it to a 3-year average. So there's nothing written right now, there's just conversations, but there are definitely conversations happening, recognizing the districts are gonna be impacted by this. We're already, we really aren't funded at where we should be funded. So to Board Member Rudolph's point, they need to increase the base. We talk about us as the state of California being the 5th largest economy in the world. We are behind the United States of America as a country in terms of economy, okay? Which means we are the #1 economy in the United States of America. California is the #1 economy in all of our 50 states and all of our,
But yet education,
but we don't fund as if we are the #1. And so those are the conversations that are like, we need to be having with our legislators and our governor about how we fund our schools. That it needs to be raised. If we are the #1 economy in the United States, then we need to act like we are, and we need to
Right.
start providing funds for our education system so we can continue to be the #1.
The last time I checked, just to add on to that comment, is we are 45th in the country
Yes,
in per pupil spending.
yes.
So there's only 5 states that spend less per pupil.
Well, and the other issue with that is that that's on average as a state. There are many districts within the state of California that well exceed that. We are not one of them. And so there's
Even the
also,
county. Even the county.
even the county, yes. So there's also the conversation about legitimately, what does equity look like when we are talking about funding schools and school districts? Because wealthy neighborhoods well exceed what the state is saying we should fund kids at. And that's why they're called community funded, because they're saying that this is what you should fund kids at, but they collect this much in revenue. So they get to fund $22,000 per child. Then there are districts like ours that are state funded, that this is what they say, and we only bring in this amount, so they just backfill the difference.
Yeah.
And so there's a huge gap between us and other districts. And that's not to say that, so really, we need to raise the bar for everyone. Because we should all be funded at $22,000 per child. So we'll get a little bit more into that in a second. But just for in terms of the first interim, the timeline is, just to remind you, on December is where we are. So I give you the first interim, the board has to approve it. The audit report is normally done in December, but due to COVID, they've extended it last year and this year to January 31st. So in January, our auditor will come and present his audit findings. And then we present the second interim in March. In June, we will present our public hearing for the budget for next year, and we will adopt it. And then in September, we present the unaudited actuals for the 2021-2022 school.
Are there any questions? Can I get all in favor?
Who seconded? Thank you. So next is our band report. So what this is when we're building our most beautiful school in the peninsula, not the state of California. We knew that when we budgeted to build it, what the costs were that we needed to use, we qualified for state bond. And we were approved for state bond money, but the state didn't give us our bond money until after construction was done. And so we had a bond that was a local bond for us. And so what we were able to do is we could have done one of two things. The board could have said, we will sell that bond and that will cover it. Or we can take out a loan, and that's what a ban is, against that, which means we don't sell that, but we can't borrow against it until we get our state money to then pay back the ban. So in 2018, we borrowed against our available bonds to complete our construction. We anticipated a February 2023 payoff. So because it's a loan, with any loan, there's interest earned. And so it was gonna bring us to what we had to pay, $2.66 million, $2,660,000. We received our state bonds and additional developer fees in 2020 and 2021. And so I am excited to say that we are able to pay off our band this month, saving us $63,000 from what we had anticipated. Yes, give ourselves a round of applause. And so that will be paid off this December, so we will be in essence debt free.
Yay.
Very good.
Amazing.
We were all debt free.
Very
And so I just wanted to present that to the board, that we are, again, this is one step in us becoming better fiscally solid. We're already fiscally solid, but this is one more step with us not having the debt that we have hanging over our heads. And so what this also does is it then opens up, so we now have a $7 million bond sitting there. I'm sorry, I think it's 3.75. I will confirm for you. So this is where you have the conversation about any developer fees that we have coming in. We now have $3.75 million that's available in our bonds if we wanted to use that to think about what the district wants to do with expanding our footprint in the city.
I want solar panels.
Yes.
I'm sorry, Joe,
You, Joy, and your
I
solar
want solar
panels.
panels. I'm gonna ask you before construction. Mm.
Hey, sky's the limit, you know?
Yeah.
I know this.
So, so then, those are ideas of like, for example, purchasing the house on the corner, what that could do. Purchasing eventually those pieces of property at the end. Ideally, we'd like to own this should be all.
The whole block.
The whole block. And then thinking about when, the Baylands come in, what we can do over there with the new school and those types of things. And we do have new construction that's coming in that's gonna end up giving us funds. And so we'll want to talk with them about, again, there could be an opportunity for us to negotiate of, instead of giving us developer fees, if they could help us either purchase land and or help us build an extension. Because just one idea that I have is that if we were to be this whole block, and we build a 612 campus on the Baylands, this space over here, not now, we could still continue to rent it out, and that's income that we could be collecting. But once we needed it, we would be able to build another building over there to expand if we have more students and more programs that we want to have. So just ideas.
OMG.
So next is the school report. So our holiday book drive again relates to LCAP goal number 1 and 3, one about school connectedness, because we want to get our families with books, and we want to get our kids with books that they actually like, that look like them. And then goal number 3 obviously is about reading, so we want some books are for. So we put it out there. We have not received as many books as we would like, so after tonight, I'm gonna push it out to you guys for you guys to advertise as well. But we're gonna re-advertise when we come back from winter break, so that we can collect more books. Because last year we were able to provide at least one book to every single child. This year we've been able to collect for 3 classes, and so there's still a lot of work that needs to be done.
We can definitely send a request for the DCPLA.
Oh, okay.
Send it to her because
Okay.
they just finished a book fair, a book sale.
Okay.
So, and they maybe she'll reach out. Yeah, reach out to her.
Or just want to remind everybody, and board member Fakua can add if I miss anything, that this Saturday from 9 to 11:30 is the Pit Winter Wonderland. That too is related to LCAP goal number 1, which is around school connectedness. Because our families are supported, our community is supported, and there's a connection with us. I'm hoping that this is the last year that we do a drive-through, because I really would love to go back to
Oh, the
the feeling and the setup that we had in the past.
right.
But again, it's such a wonderful experience. So this Saturday is a drive-through. I don't know if board member Fakua wants to add anything.
No, we have all the applications. Last year, we were kind of bending on registered on site, but this year we're not taking any registration on site. We capped it out, and so they just come, they got the numbers, Boys and Girls Club will be able to assist us too with traffic. That's our main thing is traffic, but everybody's on board. We're going to be stuffing some toys on Thursday. The bulk of the work will be on Thursday, but then on Friday be light, and then for Saturday. So we'll finish right at 11:30.
How many kids are we anticipating?
So I received 458 applications. That's 1,200 children.
That's a lot.
And all the some of the kids are from San Francisco.
Yeah.
All the way from, so we don't exclude anybody. We welcome everybody.
Thank you. We already did the youth-led participatory action research team presentation. Again, like Ms. Santos said, it's specifically related to LCAP Goal #1, which is school connectedness. And then winter concert, again, is school connectedness. So we mentioned it before, it's this Thursday. The concert is primarily virtual. Parents, families, and most of the staff will be watching virtually, and we'll have a live stream studio set up in the auditorium. So the 5 of you have an option. If you are available on Thursday at 9:30, we will have a seat for you in the auditorium if you want to see it live. You just got to let me know so that I can let Mr. Dice know to expect you. If you are unavailable to come on Thursday at 9:30, but you want to watch it virtually, we will send you a link. And so then you can watch it virtually. And then if you can't watch it live, because you have other jobs, it will be saved on YouTube and you can watch it later. But we're really excited.
I already respond to Mr. Dyson.
You did?
I will
Okay.
be here.
Great.
I will be here.
Okay. So then next is just my reports. So we're gonna start with COVID-19 and vaccination clinic update. I'm gonna reverse those and I'm gonna say we should give ourselves a round of applause. We had vaccination clinic 2 days, Monday, December 6th, Monday, December 13th. The 6th, we were able to provide 73 vaccinations. And last night we were able to provide 182 for a total of 255. We opened it up to beyond our community. But yesterday it stopped raining throughout the day, and then the skies opened right at 3 o'clock. And our families and the community that came to be vaccinated were patient, were understanding. I want to thank the 3 board members that were able to volunteer their time last night, and 2 board members that were able to volunteer their time on Monday, December 6th. It went extremely smoothly. The gentleman who oversees it kept saying how great it was, that it was smooth, even with the rain, that we were able to get families through. So the second round, I believe, because it was under 300 between the 2 days, we'll be able to do the second round for all of the families on Monday, January 3rd. And so I'm continuing to coordinate that to make sure that we can do it on one night. So it'll be Monday, January 3rd. So that was, it was really nice that we were able to provide that to our communities. And then I do want to call out one staff member, Mr. Allen.
Right.
He had not signed up and he showed up yesterday and he was a rock star. He was so when you get the vaccine, they give you a little card that has the 15-minute time for you to go and sit. He was keeping eyes. He was like, okay, you're good, you're good, you're good. You take the card, you clean it, you clean the chairs. He was mixing and mingling. And he was fantastic and everybody just loved him.
And translating.
And translating at the same time, yes.
Because without him, I was.
Yeah, I wouldn't do able to do that.
He did a fantastic job. So if you see him, thank him for all that he does for our students and for the other piece with COVID-19 is, as you're aware, the Omicron variant is out there. They're saying that it is, from what I understand, it is more contagious, but it's not as severe. So there are less symptoms if you get it. I don't know if you are aware, but the governor just said, due to the increase in the number of COVID cases that have occurred since Thanksgiving, starting tomorrow, if you are indoors, whether you are vaccinated or not, you must wear a mask, no matter what setting you are in. So that goes into effect tomorrow, and that goes through at least January 15th. One of the nice pieces about our community and about our school is that our kids are following the rules, our staff members follow the rules. You know, we're human, and there are times where it slips down. There are times where I need to take it off to get a breath or get a drink. But we don't have anybody against masks. We don't have any kids or families coming and saying that they don't want to wear them and they're not going to wear them. And that's one of the reasons why we have been able to completely stay open and have only had 5 cases between the start of school. What we're also doing to help with that is we just received an at-home kit for every single student and every single staff member that is going home this week. The kit comes with 2 tests. We're asking families to test their children on Friday, December 31st and Sunday, January 2nd before they come to school, so that we know that if you have been around somebody and you do test positive, you know, and you can stay home. And again, we're sending it home with every child and with every staff member, so that everybody has the ability to be able to test themselves before they come. And then it has the directions on there on how to report it. If you have participated in any of our testing this year, you should have a primary health account. And so it shows you how to activate that if you haven't, so that you can actually upload your results. And then there's a phone number if you have questions on how to use it. And it's a quick 15-minute antigen in the nostril.
Have we sent out any information to the parents?
It's
prior?
It's going home tomorrow, so I'm gonna send it out tomorrow. So
Okay.
there's a letter that goes home.
Right.
We're gonna do a phone call, and we're gonna do a text and an email that walks through all of that, and then I'm gonna ask the teachers to give their information via remote.
And if there's any questions,
They can just call the office.
they'll just call
Yep.
us. Okay.
My update for Penn Midway, last time we talked about whether or not they had a grand opening. They did not have a groundbreaking ceremony. They did not have a groundbreaking ceremony. They're planning to do something in the spring. And when they do, they will invite all of us so that we can attend. But they had opted not to do a groundbreaking, so that was just that update. CSBA AEC update. Board member Rudolph and I attended your School Boards Association Annual Education Conference in San Diego, so I want to have him share his thoughts on the conference.
Sure, it was a great conference. It was definitely, as far as a number of attendees, it was a bit smaller than the last one I had been to. It was 3 years ago in San Francisco. But it was really well organized, a lot of great information. One of the key takeaways is the Sacramento. And I'd like to test this not only to the board, but to staff and parents. Call your legislators. Seriously, call them. Write Newsom if you need to. And as Dr. Pittman had talked about earlier about just the inadequacies of going off of an average daily attendance rate is absurd. It makes no sense. And hopefully they will, but again, I think if there's momentum and voices are speaking up, they'll be that much more likely to make those necessary changes. There's also March 15th, 2022 is the Legislative Action Day in Sacramento for CSBA. So I'm going to try and put it on my calendar and hopefully be able to attend next year. You know, I put together some other notes, but it was truly like drinking from the fire hose, so to speak. So rather than going into too much detail, I think the key is, you know, review our LCAP goals, review our school goals of connectedness, and that goes not only obviously in the larger scale of the school, but as far as board members are concerned, they emphasize a lot of the relationship of board members getting to know each other. Obviously, there are Brown Act rules where shouldn't talk about policy, but there's no reason why, you know, we can't go and have a cup of coffee and just talk about life. Can't talk about policy, but you can certainly talk about other things.
7 miles.
A lot of talk about the finances in the state. One of the other sessions that I went to was interesting, we were just talking about leveraging technology. The good news is what they were talking about, a lot of it we're already implementing, but I believe there is like that next level that we're going towards with data zone, et cetera. So we just need to make sure we keep pushing that. And then there was definitely talk about just, social and emotional, not only learning with the students, but the staff and the board themselves. The other thing I'd like to say is I am thankful for each and every one of you, because I heard some of the horror stories other board members were sharing about their own other board members. So
How
thank
sad.
you for each and every one of you. And I would just like to, emphasize that kind of what Dr. Pittman was alluding to earlier, and we were talking about during the study session is obviously reviewing the LCAP goals. Those are kind of like our guardrails that keep us on the road and our right path. And then just reviewing our board goals and making sure that they're in alignment. We can create smart sub goals. But that's all I have to say.
Next is is there any questions or ideas that you guys have in terms of us moving forward from our governance training from Saturday? That kind of goes hand in hand with the next one, which says calendar of board study session. In the past, we've done it in January, but we just had it on Saturday. And then we have the availability of the CSBA rep on either March 19th or 26th. And based on what Dana Tom did with us on Saturday, I thought that March was a good time for us to kind of circle back to our board goals and doing that through line with our board goals. At that point, we're going to be reevaluating our LCAP and then setting goals for me, having those conversations as we move forward in the year. Does that sound like a plan?
Yeah, that sounds like a plan. I mean, the governance session that we had this past Saturday was very interesting, and I'm hoping that, that we can follow up with that during the springtime and apply some of what we learned through that. And also looking at the handbook of what's more in elementary, which pretty much coincides with what we're doing here in our school district. So it's going to be a good, idea to come together and follow up a lot of that information.
Yeah, something we were thinking about was whether or not we could do a survey with the 8th graders at the beginning of the year and at the end of the year to see what they're expecting to learn and what they have and whether we've met their expectations.
Anybody else? So then what I need to know is, does March 19th or March 26th work better for all?
Oh, Lord, we're having some
I kind of want to go
pretty
for the
years.
19th,
The
if
19th?
possible.
When St. Patty's Day?
The 17th, always the 17th?
Oh,
I just want to make sure. I know it's important for a lot of people.
Well, the 26th is my dad's birthday.
Okay.
wait. Do we have to do it tonight? Can we
Do you have to check
Can
your
we
table
calendar?
that to check my circle back or come
I
back?
need to pick a date, otherwise she's gonna fill it with somebody else.
Okay.
So can we commit to emailing you our preferences by the end of this week or
I would-
tomorrow?
I would prefer by tomorrow.
Tomorrow, okay. So
19 on the 26th.
19 or 20.
It's a Saturday, huh?
They're both Saturdays.
Yeah.
Who's everybody going for the 19th? You're going for the 19th? Dad's birthday's on 26th. Okay. The 19th then.
The 19th is a week before, so
2 days after.
Oh, no, I
St.
can't do the
Patrick's
19th.
Day. Why?
it's a tough one.
We'll do yeah, I have a church thing.
Hmm.
I'm good for the 19th. I'll just throw that up there. If anyone can do the 19th, then
Rudolph?
I'm checking.
Okay, so why don't you guys each let me know by tomorrow if you can do the 19th. If you can't do the 19th, I will ask her if there's a different date and then we'll circle back.
Can you send us an email? Just
To remind you,
Yeah,
yes.
please.
Yes. Okay. So then going along with that, you know, you all have a Gmail account through Bayshore. And so we've been having conversations, and so what I'm gonna try to do is set up a calendar that's for board members, so that when you're going to the daily city council meeting, that's on there. If you're signing up to do a visit, we know that you're signing up to do a visit. If you're signing up to go to the winter concert, we know that you're gonna be attending. So that, and then, so it'll be a combination of me putting on events that we at the school want you to be a part of, and then you putting your name on there to say you'll be in attendance. And so I will work on that, and it'll be up and running when we return in January.
That's a great idea.
And I would love to have all the clubs to events to be over there. So I know I was invited for a sport thing last
Yeah, we'll
minute,
make
but I
sure we
couldn't,
follow up.
yeah, I couldn't attend.
So then the last thing that I have is just to give you guys our dates, winter break. Friday, we end at 1 o'clock, kids are out, and then we have 2 weeks off. Saturday, we already talked about, Pitt is in Winter Wonderland from 9 to 11:30. Tavara is also renting the facility on Saturday, so they have a performance from 5 to 7. They're coming in at 1 to rehearse and then have the performance that night. Monday, December 20th, our new shade structures will be installed. It's gonna take them about 3 days, and it's great that it's over break so that it doesn't affect kids on the playground.
Do we have a mock-up of what it's gonna look like?
I'm sorry, what?
Do we have a mock-up of what?
I can send it to you, yeah. And then we are closed Thursday, December 23rd and Friday, December 24th. And then we are closed on Friday, December 31st. So you know, if you swing by and you can see.
Just one real quick thing, who's gonna be the contact person if lights are on or anything like that? Sure, if there's an emergency.
Within the next 2 weeks, if we drive by.
Yeah.
and
If
see-
you drive by, you can always text me or reach out to
Okay.
Listen.
And Mr. Sandler's like 5 minutes away.
Right.
Are you planning to have a party here without
I
us?
won't say anything.
Okay.
Only certain people will get the.
That's all that I have.
Board reports, are there any board reports?
So, first, one of the most exciting things recently that I attended was, and I'll speak because they're here, is the Student Athletic Club. I had an opportunity to attend the tournament, and then also the teachers against the students. I'm trying to still figure out which one was better, which I believe they were all exciting. I must say though, you know, what Coach Kevin has put together along with all the staff involved. It was great to see all the students, you know, eager to learn something and be competitive. And with the guidance of our coaching, it added a lot of excitement, you know, and something that's been lacking because of COVID, obviously. But to have an outlet, especially after school, has been rewarding for all, from my perspective. So it was really nice to see that come together and all the kids really enjoying and rooting for each other. Even though there was different teams, everyone was a team in all. And regardless if you were on the green or red or yellow team or whatever, everybody was there to support one another. The student and faculty game was interesting because I believe there was what, 3, you guys won 4-0, right? But, you know, they had an advantage because they've been playing longer. But the thing is that the kids still accepted the challenge. And it was amazing to see that even if they had one less point, they were still trying to get closer at the very end. And it was close. It was close.
Was it recorded?
Oh, it wasn't recorded. I wish it
Yeah,
was.
I have some recordings and I'll share it with you. So I was able to record. I just want to make sure I have permission to.
Next time, we will stream it live
Right.
on YouTube.
Yeah. And we even. we
Are you
have-
gonna play next time, Rick?
Yeah, as a matter of fact, I should be able to dive for a ball if I can.
There you
because
go.
I've seen action with, especially the faculty, really digging deep just to get that ball from not hitting that ground. And it was exciting. We even had Miss Baker who was throwing up a sign, go faculty and
Well, Rick, there's, when the kids were trying to get me to play as a strategy for this.
that would have been a.
No,
good-
they want to try to get me to lose because they know I'm not good at volleyball. So they tried.
Yeah.
And then we've got
That was a
Miss Heiner going,
sabotage
"Growth
act."
Mindset, Miss Baker. It's like,
Yeah.
no way.
But the challenge was
great,
really
though.
there. I mean, the environment, the atmosphere, the music that was being played, I felt like I was at the Chase Center for a minute. I think Miss Angela had the controls on that. But I was even rooting. I was even banging on the bench there. But it was great to see. It was great. I want to thank you all for making that happen for the kids and putting that program together. It's
Do it
really
in the
exciting.
spring.
So there they are.
Yeah.
Give the kids a rematch in the spring to see how far they've come.
If I could just add, if y'all are free tomorrow, we have a banquet. So at 3:15, I've came up with awards for every student. We have co-captains that have really been leading the team. So the adults are going to give the co-captains awards, and then all the co-captains decided what awards their teammates get. So it's going to be a really good opportunity to really just celebrate our co-captains, but also for them to celebrate each other. So if y'all are free, 3:15, I know it's kind of tough in terms of timing, but 3:15 we'll have pizza and awards and the shirts. I'm hoping the shirt, I got them shirts too. We have student athlete club shirts coming in. So just a lot of ways to celebrate the students. Yeah, and PTO funded our shirts. So thank you, PTO. Shout out to PTO.
And basketball is next, starting in January, and then after basketball is badminton, so everyone wants to join.
Oh, they're gonna do badminton?
There's another sport, pickleball.
Which one?
It's called
Pickleball.
pickleball.
I already got it set. Yeah, I'm ready for
Oh,
that.
bring it on.
Another thing I want to bring to light here, I want to talk about something that's really important here. I know at this school, I've witnessed that we've done earthquake drills. I know we've done fire drills, but active shooter drills is
So,
what I see that we need to have happen. I don't know if any of you know, there was a false threat that happened at Jefferson High School last Monday, I'm sure.
Bomb
Bomb threat.
threat.
Oh, well, yeah. But,
So we do active shooter drills.
Right.
In the past,
Yeah, I remember.
they had you do it with kids. Research has now told us, and we follow the big five. We are not including children in the practice. We are only including staff. We have already discussed it with our staff at a faculty meeting. I'm not gonna give the date on TV on
oh, sure.
next one is, but we have dates where we have those because we do have those conversations. So yes, we do them. They are in our big five. But we are not going to include children in it, because we don't want to traumatize children, going through the practice. But yes, and one of the things that I'll share with the board, is later on, or through email, is, our big five protocol that comes from the San Mateo County Big Five, is very clear, especially when it comes to active shooters. We do our earthquake drills, we just did one today. We do our fire drills. Our kids and our staff are phenomenal. They know the system. And we just want to remember one of the things when it comes to active shooters is to really think on your feet and to recognize that what you can use as a weapon, what you can use to protect kids, what you can do to get away. So if you're in a space where you can get away from the campus, that's what you should be doing, because you should be getting away from the campus. And we've talked about that, and our staff over the years have gone through those trainings. And so, yes, we are doing them. So I appreciate you bringing them up because it's really unfortunate that we have to participate in those. But we want to make sure that we're ready if God forbid something like that.
And the one thing I want to add too is, you know, with social media out there and everything else, a lot of our students hear about these things. So they're trying to process to themselves. And then a lot of them have people that they know. So if they hear about these things and we're not at the school communicating with them, then that puts more fear of what could happen. So those are the things that I want to make sure that we're identifying with. But thank you.
And I'm not going to be able to give hard data, but I do know that those conversations come up in our classes. And that is an opportunity, opportune times for our teachers to run circles and have those conversations with, so the students can ask those questions. And they can hear from each other because they should be able to ask those questions and know that we have plans in place to keep them safe. And know that if they if they are dealing with something like that, they have people that they can talk to.
Can I say something about that?
Absolutely.
So all of our teachers have community circles in their classrooms on a regular basis. They're calendared, so we know when they're happening, and if because they are happening on a regular basis, when there's not something, or, like that to talk about, it provides a structure so that when there is something that's coming up, whether it's a pattern that they're noticing in class or in the yard or something like this, that it provides that opportunity for those kind of discussions.
Just that, yeah, the social media, they know things faster than us, still as fourth graders, especially not that long, there's my attention, like, but.
Yeah, that's a reality.
Goes fast, yeah.
Right.
Social media.
I think we covered COVID. The COVID vaccinations, it was great. Thank everyone for the support. There was a lot of questions with regards to possibly when a booster might happen for adults, because we had a lot of families who misread their texts. Were assuming that we were doing COVID testing and or getting booster shots for adults, but this was primarily for the pediatrics, 5 to 11. But I don't know if we can send out information furthermore to get that information out. I know we talked about this as far as the lights in the gym, and I know Dr. Pittman had mentioned, because it's very difficult. I noticed while you guys were playing volleyball, I'm looking at the far end where it's a lot dimmer, but I'm happy to know that we have that taken care of in a work order in place.
So everybody else knows, we put in a work order in October. And we're supposed to ship the lights December 31st. And so as soon as they are shipped, we will schedule the time, and we'll do the first and the second.
But we know where the ships are at.
And that's all I have.
Any other board?
Well, I want to thank all the staff, from the admin to everybody in Bayshore, for doing such a great job this year, and wishing you guys happy holidays and the best. Hopefully will be better next year. But I only have one pet peeve with the dirtiness of the building. I saw the gym yesterday and it was just a little embarrassing because on the stage there were cups, drinking cups over there. There were like a lot of dust on the side, and even outside on the stage, there's still, we really need to fix something to tell those birds they need to go to Brisbane or go somewhere else. Because that is, it's piling up the bird poo over there, and it's not safe, not even healthy for children to even play around there in that area. So I don't know who's using the gym, but we need to get on the staff that is using the gym last. There's a saying that you leave it how you found it.
Better than how you found it.
So if everybody picks up and treat it like it's their home, there's garbage everywhere, and I know it's not even the custodian doesn't have time to clean everything, but if we all put together our hands and clean up, and I know it's not children, or even tell the children, put them to work, get the broom and sweep it up. So that's just one report I want to report it. And looking forward to see who will be here on Saturday for the event. If not, I don't know if it's going to rain. But just, that's why it's good with drive-by, because they can stay in their cars. So have fun, everybody, and good luck on your event on Saturday too, the children dancing. It's really nice.
Yeah.
And that's the other thing. We need to put out more word there about our facility, that we're renting our facility. Maybe that will be something Ms. Brown can bring it to the city council.
Good note.
That's it.
City
Thank you,
council.
everyone.
Any other board reports?
No, I know that 2020 was a hard year, but in all honesty, 2021 has been very difficult. And I'm sure that the staff has felt it as well, with the kids now back at school with the same restrictions of keeping masks on and keeping everybody safe. And so I'd like to thank everybody for all the efforts that you put into everything that you do every day. Hoping that the families and the community stay safe, stay healthy, keep your mask on, and encourage everyone to get vaccinated. And I am very thankful to be on the board with all of you.
Thank you.
Same here. It's been a great year, and I'm hoping that next year has bigger and better things for us.
I guess I have one thing, it's like to piggyback on Rick, as far as testing goes. At each of the clinics that the county runs, all you have to do is ask at the vaccination clinic, can I get tested? And they have the equipment to test as well as give the vaccination at those clinics that are listed.
Okay, I have two parts. So the first part, I'd like to give a PTO update on behalf of PTO and give a summary of what they've been up to. Obviously, they did help me participate in the cleanup of Bayshore in October. And I'm going to kind of piggyback on some things. One of the things I did notice is the landscaping getting much better. So that's great to see. The Bayshore Block Party donations received $2,339. But the pajama sale, $1,500.
I'll be wearing mine.
Oh, they're all gone? They're all sold? Also,
I didn't hear anything about it.
Oh, you didn't know that?
on Facebook.
It went fast, especially the extra large XXL XLs at this end of the
XXL, right
table. Sleigh grounds, the PTO received 450 orders for sleigh grounds. $1,350.
Wow.
And I'm assuming part of this is what's enabling them to help sponsor Mr. Dyson's AME t-shirts, sponsoring the Student Athletic Club t-shirt and hoodies, helping support the Student Athletic Club banquet tomorrow, and then preparing for next year's events. They've got so far on the docket, February, Valentine's, a self-care night / movie night. And then in March.
Is movie night here?
The movie night will be here. What it actually is self-care, meaning it's like a date night for the adults.
Yeah.
So you're supposed to come and just drop your child off and you go have an evening to take care of yourself and do whatever it is that you want to do as an adult.
Yes, we have the biggest screen on the Bayshore community.
That's right. And the lights.
So if anyone
and the
wants to do
lights
any
are supposed to be off
screenings or
during the movie, so it'll
viewings,
work out great.
Right.
And then March, one of my favorite, and I hope we do this, is the multicultural festival with food.
I love food.
It is so good.
Anything with food.
There's no date for
March.
it yet, but in March, so I said no problem, lock that down shortly after the year. And most important, they are looking for assistant coaches to help volunteer for the upcoming basketball season for 6th and 7th grade boys, running from January to March 2022.
So when they say looking for coaches, is that something they're running or Boys and Girls Club and our?
No, it's them, they're just asking you for extra coaches.
I
think it's through Park and Rec, Daly City Park and Rec.
So are you asking internal coaches or coaches from outside?
Well, right now, I think it's just Coach Ryan coaching the 6 and 7 girls, and then I'm gonna be coaching 8th grade boys, but I think we still need a 6-7 coach for boys.
Can we get the other coaches that used to coach for us?
They're looking for volunteers, so but
Okay.
we can get more information.
Okay, and then I'll be quick, just kind of tagging on what some of the other board members brought up. Adults, if you haven't, get your booster shots, and one of the options is going to myturn.ca.gov
Right.
and look around and see who's actually got availability. And then, again, wanted to just thank Pitt for the Winter Wonderland event every year. It's amazing, so please, thank you. Also, end of year donations.
Yes.
So if there's a way for us to get the word out that this school is a 501c3 and we can take donations through PayPal through the website. Correct?
That is true.
Yes, and they can even earmark it from one of the several projects we still have in the works.
And we should emphasize the donation of $2,500 from Robin Later for the book Sensory Room PE and Student Council.
So were there any other board comments? Questions this time? If not, we will officially adjourn at 8 p.m.
Thank you.
Happy
holidays.
Ended at 8 p.m.
So, open session.
Open session, and sorry, thank you for correcting me. Open session ended at 8 p.m.
Thank you, guys.
March 19th is multicultural festival.
March 19th.
Okay, thank you.
March
Wait,
19
March
is the
19th,
thing.
students
It's our
Or
thing.
study